We don't condone the use of any illegal substance or any illegal activity. This video is intended for instructional and educational purpose only. Watch at your own risk. Viewer discretion is advised.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
In the garden where the green leaf sway, see bunnies rolling up, we light it our way. Mr. Gettis got the bombs, we puffin' all night. Talking cultivation, yeah, we're feeling alright. Light it up, feel the vibe, let it be known. Garden Cultivation Network, we on the scene. Rolling that green, living out the dream. Shouting about the strains, how to plan it right. Join us every week, yeah, we light up the night. Wednesday to Friday, we keep it alive. Cannabis talks, everybody's feeling high. Sharing secrets of the grow, it's a sacred art. In this cultivation game, you gotta play your part. Keep it real, keep it tight, watch the plants grow. Garden Cultivation Network, we on the scene. Rolling that green, living out the dream. Chatting about the strains, how to plan it right. Join us every week, yeah, we light up the night.
Happy Wednesday, not Friday yet, darn it.
Wednesday, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I wish it was.
Yes,
Friday.
it is.
But
excuse me. It is Wednesday. Thank you all for being here tonight. So just a reminder that we are over on Spotify under Garden Cultivation Network. We are over on Instagram under Garden Cultivation Network. I think that's it. We are on Discord
too. Mr.
on Instagram. Yes.
On Instagram. Yes.
Building up those accounts once more. Yep.
Yeah. Again.
Yes.
As usual.
So last week we had a good interview.
Can't even remember. Oh, he the bug guy last week.
Yes, it was.
He's a bud guy.
Yes,
yeah, we were talking content creation last week.
Yeah, so if you missed that episode, definitely you could go back and rewatch it, or you could watch it over on Spotify. But this week we have a special guest.
We do. This one's going to be fun. There's a lot of info here. I was reading over his story, and he's got a hell of a story. I can't wait to dive into this because I was in it. Like when I was reading it, I was like, shit, like a movie. I might make a movie someday, maybe. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes. Let's do this. Thank you, everybody.
What is up? How you doing?
How's it going, everybody?
Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, happy Wednesday. And
when we were trying to find pictures for that video, you're like a myth. Like there's like 2 pictures of you. Like there's nothing. I was like, man, how are we gonna find a picture? I was like, we were about to just put your logo up, and I was like, nah, I know there's stuff. And I went so far back trying to find those pictures. It was ridiculous. I was like, shit. Yeah.
yeah, you did pretty good there.
Thanks. So for those who don't know, would you like to give yourself a quick little introduction on who you are, what do you do, and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name's Jake. I'm middle-aged. I like long walks on the beach. I'm a cannabis breeder. I own Romulan genetics. I operate it pretty much solely by myself with a little bit of help on the sales side with the office manager and a girl that helps packaging the seeds, but I do all the growing, all the seed making, all the testing. I've got a group of about 150 plus. Right now it's 200 plus testers that test everything before I release it. And yeah, I've been doing this for about 8 years, about 6 publicly selling seeds. And
okay.
I love it.
It's 2017, right?
Yeah. 2017 is when I account that Romulan Genetics started, that was when I became public on forums and stuff, giving the cutaway. And 2019 was when I started making seeds and releasing them under Romulan Genetics. It was initially just, this whole thing was just a plan to get this cut that I had out into people's hands. I gave it away to a bunch of people, ended up giving it away to a company called Dark Heart Nursery here in California. And they sold thousands and thousands of clones eventually. When I first gave it to them was around 2017. And they sent it to all of the legacy farmers and all the big breeders in the Emerald Triangle area. And they all grew it out first and verified it and ran it through testing of their own. And then they eventually sold cuts and gave it to everyone. And I had people like in Canada and Europe asking me, hey, I can't get the cut. I can't get my hands on it. I'm too far away. Can you make seeds? And so I initially made regular seeds. And when I sold them, I created Romulan Genetics. And at the time, it was just kind of like a little joke. I'll make a little, company out of this. Because all I was going to do was make those seeds, and that was it.
It was originally called something different, though, correct? Romulan.
No, it was
originally. Was it?
Yeah. So a long time ago, before I got involved.
Yeah.
What most people know it as, it started with a guy named Joe Slikerman up in Canada. He showed up at Mark Emery's Compassion Club and had what he called.
Mark Emery is actually from where I live originally.
Yeah.
He actually went to school with my mom. Which is
nice. He's a really good guy. So when Joe Slikerman showed up, he had this he called it Romulan, and Mark said, you got the same thing Vic's got, and there was a gentleman there named Vic High who had the same thing. It was known under different names before that: Portal Burning Pine Bud, and a bunch of other various names, because it wasn't really, back then things were a little different, and it really wasn't a strain other than people had cuts and they called it what they called it. And Joe Slikerman went away with, and he came back at a certain point, and Vic High and Mark both said that his thing had changed. This Romulan had changed a little bit, become more indica dominant. And then that's the Joe Romulan Joe cut that everyone kind of, it became popular. And at that time, Vic High changed whatever he was calling, I don't know that part, whatever he was calling his cut, he started calling it Romulan. Everyone else called it Romulan after that. If it was, in the same family, the same genotype and progeny and everything, everyone just started calling it Romulan after that.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you can tell me it's true or not true or not. I want to say I heard you say this maybe somewhere one time on an interview, but when you were 7 years old, you used to hang out underneath the plants and play with your toys and stuff, hanging out in the dirt up by the plants. Is that true?
Oh, I was from diaper stage, like toddler. I was playing with my Tonka trucks under the plants.
So you
my
grew
dad
around
was
it.
huge. Yeah, I grew up around it. He was doing the breeding and some of the cultivation in our backyard, and he had another spot in another location that he was doing like commercial production, making a bunch. He was a really, really big drug dealer back in the days. But I grew up around it, and I was a little kid playing in it. As I got a little older, there was, I wasn't playing in my diapers anymore, and they had issues, and so they built like booby traps around the place. By the time I was 7, we were trying to escape, get through the booby traps, me and my friends, and get over the wall and get inside without getting, having this log with nails come down and hit us and all this different stuff. Because there was a bunch of different booby traps around this thing.
So would you say you?
Yeah, it was really fun as a kid. It was really fun.
Would you say you were always passionate about it, or is that something that came later on?
Yeah, so shortly after, he was talking about 7, I think it was about 8 or 9, Dad took me everywhere, and I was kind of a real nosy, precocious kid, too smart for my britches when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And so I was always snooping on the adult conversations, and I always knew, they were smoking pot, and other kids had no fucking clue what was going on. I read through a lot of the High Times magazines that were like, at his friends' houses and stuff like that. And so I pulled out like a subscription thing at one point. It must have been, 7 or 8. And I started getting a High Times subscription in the mail when I was little. And I was flipping through it at that point. And to me, it was like, it was the plants and Dad. And it was like part of his life that he really didn't like involve me with because I was too young yet. And so it was my way of like looking up to Dad, kind of. That's how I think of it now. But I remember flipping through them and being like, "This is what I want to do when I get older. I want to make it was explaining to me how they make new strains and guys are making new strains. And I thought, that's what Dad's doing. And I want to do that when I get older. That sounds really, really cool. I don't want to be a drug dealer like he is. I want to grow pot and make new strains.
Yeah.
And, I think I got in trouble in school once for saying that's what I wanted to be when I got older. And the teacher pulled me aside.
I want to grow weed when I grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, back then your teachers expect everybody to say, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a police officer.
Exactly.
And here's Jake saying, I want to be a cannabis breeder when I grow up.
Right. I forgot about it pretty quickly. I know I got the High Times magazines for probably like 2 years because I had like old ones when I was 14, 15, and I started getting back into those things. But yeah, once I was, like a freshman or sophomore in high school, I was selling weed and smoking weed. And it went from, selling 8s to ounces to quarter pounds to pounds really quick. I joined the Marine Corps. I got out and I pretty quickly got into interstate trafficking and did that for a while. And, was coming up to farms up here in the Emerald Triangle and, mostly Paradise and Grass Valley farmers, buying weight from them and then selling it all over the place. I got arrested for that, did time, got out, ended up moving up to Northern California because I was in Southern California at the time. And I started a company doing electrical engineering. I was doing architectural design and things were going really great. My pops passed away. I found myself with this cut and, I was growing it and giving flower to friends and people were saying, hey, can I get that cut? This is so good. And it just turned into this, you got to get that cut out to people. And it was just this thing that kind of spiraled over a few years. And I suddenly at one point kind of felt this responsibility. I got what was so special about it. It wasn't just something that got you high. There was a whole like kind of legacy and history that went with it. And I was like, it's my responsibility to make sure it doesn't die with me, And so I went on this whole little mission to spread it out there. Now here I am.
That's awesome.
I've retired from doing the electrical engineering and this is what I do for a living. I just make seeds and make new strains for people and I love it. It's great.
That's a pretty cool retirement story, I guess. I mean, like
that is.
A lot of people retire
and then
that's it. You know what I mean? Like when you get to retire and then do what you love, your passion, what you want to do. I think that's what we all kind of aim for, when we're working through our careers and whatnot. And, someday I'm going to do what I really love. And most of us don't. So I think that's super cool that you're able to actually do what you wanted to do from a young kid. Now you're sitting here and you're living the dream basically. Which
yeah, sure am. Yeah, and what I was doing at the time, because I retired now 3 or 4 years ago. I was still doing this on the side, Romulan genetics, and I was, had this other career going, and it was taking a lot of my time. And I made really good money as an architectural design electrical engineer. I could make 20 grand plus in a week really easily. But I got to a point where I didn't love the work anymore. But at the time, it was like I loved what I did. I built this company. I went off and ventured on my own and had all these, great contracts coming in, and it was really, really successful, and I loved it. But as I got into growing and breeding more, it was just like, I don't even want to do that anymore. Like I didn't care about it. It was just, I fell in love with the plant, and the way I explain it to people now is like,
at this time.
Yeah, the plant chose me, and from there on, it was just like a ball and chain. This plant has me. I'm its prisoner. I do what it wants me to do.
Yep.
I don't get many vacations. I haven't had a real one in years. I don't even remember what that feels like. I can't really venture too far away from my house because I got cuts and plants and all these things to take care of. But I love what I do.
Yeah. How hard is it for you to have somebody else watering your plants or looking after your plants if you wanted to go away for a couple of days? Like how does I know what it's like I know what it's like for me, but
yeah, I've had help in the past years ago, and I stopped doing that because I can't. So now I've got like cameras in my grow room. I've got automation in my grow room, so I can at least I have that option to leave for a few days. I know in my head I've got a reservoir with enough. If at the right time, if I do everything right, I can leave for about 2 weeks. I haven't. I don't know if I'll ever actually do that, but I have the ability to do that. So
Nice.
Yeah, I used to do it,
but
and
we're not going to try
a point. Exactly. You know, like you get mad, you blame someone because something happened to a plant, and they don't know what they're doing, and so there's just it's just not something I want to try anymore.
Yeah, I've done that before, like gone away for, like a week or 2 weeks or whatever. Left a big long list for somebody to come over and look after my plants, and I came back, everything was half dead, yellow, burning up. They had no idea what was going on, and I just, who can I be mad at? Not them, like you said. They don't know what they're doing. They've never done this before. This is their first crack at it, so
Yeah.
it's my fault
Right.
for leaving. I'm the only one to do that. So
as a breeder, there's like, as things got more serious for me, there's other concerns. I have, cuts of things that no one else has. And so there's issues with that. If someone knew that,
Yeah, that's
whatever.
true.
And it's, an interesting side note we were talking about earlier, Vic High having, a Romulan cut and everything. How he acquired that was house sitting for plants. It was for an old timer, and he took a cut, and the guy told him, don't take cuts. But he took it because he thought the plant was dying and he didn't want to kill it. So he took it home where he could take better care of it. And as time went on, he kept that. And eventually that old timer found out and said, do what you want to do with it. Vic High ended up breeding with that Romulan cut and gave it to Brothers Grimm Seeds, who bred with it, starting in the mid 90s. And another interesting side note is Brothers Grimm Seeds now uses my cut instead of the Vic High cut they were using for all the Romulan breeding. I gifted it to them a couple years ago.
Nice.
Yep. Nice. That's cool. Is your stuff available on other sites as well? Because I know you have the Romulan Genetics site. That's all your own stuff. But is there other sites that you can get stuff?
Yeah, we have our main website at www.romulangenetics.com. And on there's a page called Seed Bank Partners. And you can see we've got about 15 or 20 different seed banks that are partners of ours. A couple of them are brick and mortar locations. A couple of them operate through Strainly and don't really have their own website, but most of them are really big seed banks. There's some that are in Europe. There's some that are here. So, even if you're like in Russia, you can order my seeds from Mandala Seeds and have them shipped there. If you're in Germany or other places deeply rooted in Mandala, we'll send it to you there. So pretty much any country,
Canada?
Yeah, Canada. We ship direct from our website to Canada. Canada's been some of my best customers since I started. When I first started selling seeds, it was to Canadians and then eventually Europeans. But it was Canadians that really got me into this. They were the ones saying, hey, please make seeds for us. And I made reg seeds, and guys grew them out, and they said, these are literally the best version of Romulan I've ever grown. Please make feminized seeds. And so I made feminized seeds, and then it just kind of went from there. The next thing they asked for was crosses, and I made those, and still doing it.
Yeah,
That's
like I was
awesome.
going through your list, and like I didn't go all the way through it because I think I wrote down 12 names, and it was just like one after the other. And like rock salts, which is brand new, coming out March 1st.
That drops this Saturday, March 1st. That's going to be at almost all of our seed banks.
Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this one.
Nice.
Really happy with it.
Oh yeah, nice. I would be too.
It's got a lot of really great flavors. I've got stuff where I found that tasted, taste, not smell, taste just like a gingerbread cookie, taste just like a persimmon cookie. When I say that, I don't mean it literally tastes like a persimmon. It tastes like cannabis, but mostly you get this really heavy flavor of persimmon cookie. Yeah, and then it's got like a lot of sweet candy and gas and stuff, and deep earth floral notes within the progeny, and so it's just really good.
Nice. And then you got a couple other ones too that are dropping soon. You got the gingers, and then the Ivory Maiden as well, which I think one's April and one's May.
Yeah, Ivory Maiden comes out in April, and that's my new Black Label certified strain. Every now and then I deem something coming out Black Label certified, and it gets instead of a white label, it gets a black colored label, black background. And it's got a little seal on it, and that's my way of telling people, like, this is my personal favorite, my personal best that I think that I've made. And I've only released one Black Label certified strain up until Ivory Maiden, and that was Rom Scotty. And Rom Scotty is just, it's phenomenal. I got lucky with that. It's so good. It's silly. Ivory Maiden's the new one. It'll come out in April. It's I really like it. It's got like some hybrid and some indica stuff that you can find within the progeny. So, if you hunt through it, you've got like some variations there. And all of them have like this really good strawberry flavor to it. Strawberries and cream usually is what you're getting. And it's just, it's delicious. And the smell is like the same as the flavor. So you can smell it right on the plant when it's in the grow room, that's what I'm getting. But the high is really, really good. It's just got a phenomenal high. And I'm really, really happy with it. That comes out in April, and then Gingers comes out in May. And I'm working on, everyone's asking me constantly, when are you putting out more Ramscotty and when are you putting out more Pure Crush? And so anyone that's watching, I'm working on it as soon as possible. Every now and then I have issues making seeds. There's little things that will happen. And if they don't come out just right, I don't want to sell them to people. So the Ramscotty looks like I'll be able to restock in April, and Pure Crush is hopefully April, but it's not looking really great at this point. I kind of took a little branch off and looked at some of the seeds, and they're not forming really well on it. So we'll see. Yeah. But I keep cracking away at it. Pure Crush and Ramscotty are a permanent fixture. They'll always be kept in stock at some point. But I have to kind of catch up to the demand and get to a point where everyone that wants it's got it, and then we can keep it in stock.
Nice.
Right now, that's the hardest thing for me is I release something and everyone buys it all. And then it's like a month later, they're asking for more, or 2 months later. And I'm like, this takes time. I can't do it that quick,
Yeah. You're doing this on your own, basically, like you already said earlier. So, like you're doing the breeding, you're growing, you're doing it all. So, trying to keep up with you're only one person. So trying to keep up with the demand of this community is like shit,
Crazy.
And you got another one that just came out not too long ago with the salty pickle. This is one I've been hearing a lot about.
I dropped salty pickle
I think there's
last year.
Along going on with that one, isn't there? To be
I'm doing a home growers cup, a home growers competition. So it's salty pickle itself. It's, in my mind, would be like kind of like in the mid range of what I've made, and maybe unremarkable, other than the fact that it finishes really fast. Most people are going to have it finished by day 56, if not by like day 49. But I've had in cocoa under LED, I've had plants finish as early as day 42, which is really, really quick. And I like that about it. It's a really good smoke. It's got really good flavor, good high. The name is only really attached to specific outliers as far as them tasting like pickles. And it's not like this really obnoxious, like a slight hint of pickles. I've tried to explain that. People hear the name and they're like, oh my God, it tastes like pickles. And there are stuff that tastes like pickles, but it's not, that shouldn't be, I've tried to explain that properly. It shouldn't be exactly what you're expecting. But you will find that. So it's really good. But when I was releasing it, I didn't really have that many packs, and I was kind of deciding what I should do with it. I try to do something every year that's like a give back to the community. Last year before this, I did a box set golden ticket giveaway. So if you bought a pack of seeds, you scan, all my seed packs have a QR code that if you scan it with your cell phone, it takes you to the lab info and the pics and the grow info and everything. And so that way, if someone doesn't grow something for 5 years, they can scan that QR code and they know, how long it's going to flower for and everything. They don't have to ask me. So the way it worked was if you bought a pack of seeds, and I can't remember what seeds it was, but it was maybe a couple different strains. You scan the QR code, and if you won, it would come up the first screen and say you're the golden ticket winner. And the box set was like, just the first one I did was a huge, massive collection of other breeders' seeds with some of mine thrown in. And it was like, $5,000 worth of seeds. It was a huge box set. And it had, a hat, and a hoodie, and other stuff in it. And then I did another one.
Almost.
I did another one a year later that was similar, and it had, some other breeder stuff in there, and mostly my seeds. And I was like, I don't want to keep doing the same thing every year, so I'll do something different this year. And I came up with the idea to do a home growers competition. And the cup is, you buy a pack of Terptomaniac. Actually, we were talking about salted pickle. I was wrong. It's not attached. It's typed to Terptomaniac is the strain.
Oh.
So we'll back up on that. It's not salty pickle. But anyway, if you bought a pack of Terptomaniac, you send us an email and say, hey, I want to enter the cup. We get you enrolled, and we send you some information. And what it was is you had about 6 months from October 1st to April 1st to grow it out, pick your best plant, take 5 grams of flour, dry it, cure it, all that, and then send us a sample of that flour. And I'm going to have some judges come in and help me out. One of them's been trained by the people that run the Emerald Cup. So he's got some really expertise as far as how to judge things properly. We're going to film everything. So it's all, it's all as transparent as can be. And then we're going to have 3 judges. We're going to pick, the best sample that comes in. And initially the cup was, I was hoping to at least get 50 people to enroll. And if they did, I was going to have 3 grand prizes. One was a really nice custom glass dab rig set that's worth like 3 or 4 grand just on wholesale price. It's probably like a $5,000 dab rig. The other prize was going to be a really nice Grower's Choice light. And then the third prize was going to be $1,000 cash. We didn't get 50 people to enroll, so I can't really just like throw the farm away. So now it's going to be 1 winner instead of 3 winners, and the grand prize is $1,000 cash.
Nice.
So as long as they send flour in by April 1st and they've enrolled, then it's going to be part of the judging. And we had about 37 people enroll.
That's still pretty good. I mean, is this your very first like cup that you're doing?
It's first time doing it. So, and I'll see, it seems, even though I didn't have that many people enroll, we only sold 100 packs. So that was kind of like part of it. I didn't want to have it be attached to something where I've sold, hundreds of packs and then have all these flower samples coming in the mail.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't really have that many people enroll, and it's fine. It's enough. It seemed like a pretty decent turnout for being the first time I've done anything like this. And if it ends well,
for sure,
I'll probably do it again next year. At some point, it'll probably get a little bit too big, and I don't know what I'll do at that point. But
well, I think like we were talking earlier, like it takes time, word of mouth. Like after a while, you do your next one might be the one that's bigger than you need it to be, and it might only take one to get there. Like once people start hearing about it, and like with me, when I see like grow offs and stuff, and I'm like, shit, I wish I had entered that. When I start seeing everybody's plants, and I'm like, the hell was I thinking? So I mean, I think a lot of other people are like that too when they start seeing the posts coming out and seeing people's gardens with these plants, and they're just like, damn it, next time I'm getting in it next time, so next time might be the one.
I know as soon as people see that, like, look, all you had to do is buy a pack of seeds and send 5 grams of flour of it to maybe win $1,000 or more than that down the road. Everyone's going to want to be part of that. That's not hard to do. As long as you're comfortable sending 5 grams of flour in the mail, that's, you just grow it. That's all you got to do.
And I think though too, like for me, like grow offs are more than like even winning the prize. Grow offs, like you get to meet 36 new people possibly that are in this grow off, and
that's the biggest part.
They're growing it, and it's almost like a whole new community of people that you get to get involved with, and you might meet some lifelong friends out of that group. You might not, but you might. And I think it's super cool.
I already know for me on my end, it's like I can't lose. It's a way to give back to the community. I really wanted. I've still got the dab rig and stuff. So if I do it again next year, I'll do it for that. So it's just a way to kind of give back and say thank you to my customers for being customers. Because I've got people, they're on my tester crew and they get seeds for free, and I drop a new strain, and like half of them show up and buy that new strain, and then. There's another huge group of the customers when they're buying it from our website. We see it. It's like the same people come back and buy every new drop and keep coming back. And so I try to, my sales manager helps me, and we try to like pay attention when we see someone's name pop up for we try to give them free packs in their order and do extra things for them. And at the end of the year, it's like, maybe I missed a couple people, so I'll do this, big kind of give back as a way to say thank you. It's, a lot of people, probably look at it as it's just a promotional thing and all that. And it's really not. It's like my way of saying thank you to my customers, because who I have buying my seeds, I've got some random people that show up all the time, but I've got like this core group, and I like to, find a way to say thank you and at least show my appreciation to them. Cause it's, I'm going on 6 years now, and I've got since day one, the same guy and the same, other 24 people keep showing up and buying every single drop that I put out. and you can't
which
not
is
notice that, you know.
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know Thurgood. I mean, he is great
He's one of them.
advertisement.
Yeah.
He's great advertisement for you, man. He's every Friday he's coming on and he's showing his plants. And like I swear I can smell his plants through the screen when he's putting them up there like that. They're that nice. But
Yeah,
he actually just
he's got
asked
some good growth too.
he does. He just asked a
Yeah.
question a couple minutes ago and it was what's your most slept on strain?
I would say, well, I would have said in the past Mellow Kitty, but everyone kind of turned on to that, and now it's almost sold out completely. There's not too many packs left for anyone that wants to know. I've only got like maybe a dozen packs left on my website. I don't know about the other ones, but that's it. It's done after that. I've got other things to do.
Yeah.
That one was pretty heavily slept on. The other one was fermented. It was a collaboration I did with a really small company called Offensive Selections. They're not really known so much for breeding. They're known, pretty well as growers. He's from Washington, if I'm remembering that right. Might be Oregon. But I did a collaboration with him. He sent me this cut of a very special plant he made called sourdough. And I made fermented with that, crossed it with Romulan, and it came out really fantastic. It was like, for a long time, I've kind of in my head had this, grade scale of what are my best strains, and I number them. And fermented is right behind Romscotty. It's maybe not anymore in my mind, but for a long time it was. And it is. It's for people who love Romscotty, fermented is almost as good, but
Nice.
unfortunately it's gone. Offensive Selections I've been in contact with. They kind of moved on from what they were doing, and he's trying to get the cut back. I happen to have a cut that I could make S1 seeds with, but it's not going to be the same fermented. So I can at least do that at some point. I have a cut that I can pass that out so that clone banks can get it in people's hands. But, as far as fermented, I think that's the most slept on one.
Nice.
When you're working on a new strain, how long does it take from like the idea of crossing something to the time it's in people's hands as a tester?
So reg seeds is a whole different story, but most of the stuff that I make and release now are F1 filial generation feminized seeds. And they are always a minimum of a year from the moment I start, not concept, to being released. And that's if I rush it. Like I've got a cross with UK cheese that I'm kind of pushing through the door because I know the exit is cut really well. And there's some, not really cutting corners, but I don't have to do the same things that I do. Typically it's about a 2 to 3 year window for an F1 feminized seed strain from the moment I conceive of it to, finally going out the door. What it entails is some of my crosses, I'm making a cross first, and then I pick something from that, and then I do that with Romulan for an F1 feminized seeds. So that obviously takes quite a bit longer. That's another year or two on top of things. But otherwise, if I'm just going with a cut, a known cut or something, I grow it out a few times, even if I feel familiar with it. I grow it out a few times to kind of affiliate myself with it and kind of get a feel of where I'm going to go with this. Sometimes I'll reverse one instead of the other, depending on what I'm thinking. But a lot of times it's the Romulan getting reversed onto it. So I'll grow that P2 out several times, the second parent, and get familiar with it. And then I'll breed them together. I get a small test run of seeds that I grow myself once. This is how it used to be. I used to grow it really well first. And if it passed that, then I would put it through a stress test where I grow it intentionally very, very poorly. Now I'm starting to shift and switch that. I'm starting to do the stress test first to weed out those things right away and then do a good grow. And if it passes that good grow, it just makes more sense. But I was doing it the opposite for a long time.
Yeah, you almost get to skip a whole step that way.
Yeah. It'll help me from wasting more time is what it will really help me with.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I can be like, no, I don't need to send this off to my testers. I don't need to just scrap it. I can get rid of the cut if I want to, all that stuff. So that will take me, from the moment of conceiving of it, it's like 6 months before you've made the seeds. Then if I rush it, it's another 6 months before I got that first test done. And then another 6 months for that second test done. And then at that point, I package them all up to a bunch of testers. It costs over $1,000 just in shipping to send them out to 150 different testers. And then they grow it out. And I usually try to ask them for between a 6-month to 1 year period to finish these testers and let me know how it went. And if it passes through them, then I schedule it to be released. But I will only drop 1 new strain per month, unless it's like a box set thing, which I just did my first box set a few months ago. So normally I do 1 new strain a month, and most years I drop 6 to 8 new strains per year, about max, because the rest of the time it's restocks, and I don't drop anything new in December ever. I usually skip July and August in the summer. So
Nice. Are your strains more for like an indoor grower, or do you have certain strains that you would recommend more for outdoor growers?
I've released stuff that was specifically bred for outdoor. I've released stuff that was specifically bred for indoor. I've kind of learned my lessons already with doing that. I made a strain that was specifically for tent growers, indoor, stays short, all these things. One of my customers went, yeah, to hell with what you're saying, and he grew it outdoor. And it grew into, it's the size of a house. It's like 20 feet tall and just huge, massive trees. And that was Peach Around. That's still available in Rig Seeds.
That's funny. We were looking at the names, and I said I was laughing at that one. I was like, "Hey, look at that! It's Peach Around."
Yeah, I was having a good time with that name.
That's a funny name. I like it.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah. That would be me. That would be me 100%. Don't grow this one outside because it grows small. It's better for indoors. That would be the first one putting it outside for sure.
Yeah, and it was from concept. It was, I'm going to make something for tent growers that doesn't stretch too much, that stays small and veg, and you can when it gets the right height, you flower, and it stays around there, and so it's perfect for tent growers, and it does do that. But I had no idea, because I intentionally bred it for indoor. I sent it off to all my indoor testers. That I'd have a customer buy it up and grow it outdoor, and it would just blow up outdoor. And it did. It was the crosses, Tropicana cookies and Romulan, and it just, both of those do pretty well outdoors. So, and it came out phenomenal for that. And I've made stuff that was specifically for outdoor. A lot of things get tested by like 75% home growers indoor, and then another 25% outdoor growers. So a lot of the stuff I release will be tested outdoor, but it's depending on the timing of things. Maybe they don't even let me know how things went until I've already released it at that point. Because if they don't get it going this season, they wait till next season, then it's just way outside the window.
Right. You're kind of limited to a certain time when you're outdoors. So
I feel like if you asked me, I would tell you most of my stuff's meant for indoor. It might not do great outdoor. But I've seen over the years that just about everything I've made has done just fine outdoors. And Romulan, totally, the cut that I have knocks it out of the park outdoors. It's just this beautiful, huge plant with a massive yield outdoors. It's nothing like it is indoors. It's like a whole other beast outside. So that's one of the first parents. That's one of the P1. It's the P1. Depending on what I'm crossing it with, for the most part, the stuff that I work with is also great outdoors too, because I'm just a little more old school that way. So most of the stuff, probably 90%, 95% of what I've released is going to do great outdoors.
Yeah.
But me personally, I feel like I've made it to be grown indoor.
Yeah. Well, you're more of an indoor grower than anything else, right?
Right. Well, I'm limited. I live in a really small home. I got a really small property. I can grow outdoor, but it's like a couple plants at a time, and there's not much else I can do about it.
Yeah. Nice. And I find too, like going from California to where we are, like we're in Ontario, Canada. So what might be an absolutely amazing strain in Northern California or Southern California, then you come here where we have like this crazy wet season and we have early
snow,
frost
cold,
and all this other stuff too. So like that would be another thing. That would be another thing I would do. You would probably say, no, don't grow this one out in your area because this might happen. I would probably do it anyways just to see what it did.
And that's
go against the grain.
More than likely, if you catch me at the right time, I'm going to be like, do it.
Yeah.
Catch me on a grumpy day, and I'm going to be like, oh, it's not meant to be going outdoors. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
just like to
Thurgood is
try new
asking
things.
how many weeks veg is recommended?
From seed, it's really important. A lot of people don't actually understand this. A lot of breeders deal with this issue when making feminized seeds. They'll get, like an extra amount of people that will complain about herm seeds. And the thing with herms is there's kind of like a portion of the community that doesn't quite understand the cause and the symptom of it. And a lot of people tend to think that it's all genetics and you blame the breeder. And unless you're seeing what is actually very rare to see a true herm, where they start forming the male and the female parts at the same time on like day 3 to 7, unless you see that, and it is really, really rare to have that happen, what you're having is stress-induced intersex traits, or herms from environment. And so a lot of people don't understand that feminized seeds, the reason they have a perceived higher herm rate is because most people don't veg them out until the plants are sexually mature. What that means is when you grow a seed plant, not a clone, it kind of has a lifespan. So it's like a toddler at a few weeks and you go on, right? It's not sexually mature enough at week 4 and 5 and 6 usually in veg to be flowered. 5 and 6 is where you start hitting that window of it should be okay or getting close to there. But anything after 6 weeks, you're usually just fine. Some strains are a little more sensitive and need longer. Some particular plants, like actual, each seed that one might need a little bit longer. Everything else was fine, but this one plant hermed, 10 days in, and it may have just been because it just wasn't old enough yet. And that actually causes internal stresses within the plant. So it'll be healthy, everything will seem just fine, but it internally is like, why am I going into flower this soon? It thinks it's June and it's life as a plant, and this is too soon, this is bad. I'm going to throw out anthers and male parts to make seeds so that I can survive. And so that's what the plant's doing. So anytime you're starting something from seed, if you know how to clone, the best and easiest thing you can do is let it get old enough to clone it, and then ditch the seed plant as soon as that clone has roots and it's okay. Because that clone will keep it. It keeps the age as the clone. So by the time you've rooted that and get it going, it's almost automatically going to be about week 6, and it's going to be this tiny little clone. You grow it out a little bit further and you've got a couple weeks down the road, and then you usually don't have anything to worry about.
Tip. That's a good tip. I didn't know that, actually. Like, I've been growing
most people don't. It's not something that's talked about too much. It's a lot of the breeding community, people kind of fall short on the education and tend to like attack more. And so it'll be like, oh, so-and-so's herms and so-and-so's herms, but mine never herms. And it's just not true. I can take any cut in the world and make it herm. You can too, and so can anyone can do it. Everything will herm if you stress it out enough. And that's unless you're seeing a true hermaphrodite plant, which they are very rare. I've only seen one. And I know other breeders probably have grown thousands more plants than I have and have seen a few more, but they're actually very rare. And there's great scientific research, peer-reviewed stuff that shows what herm rates are, where they come from, how you can make seeds from herm plants, and they still have the same herm rates across the board. It doesn't matter if it's feminized, S1, autoflower, regular seed. It doesn't matter what the parents were. The intersex traits are exactly the same across the board, and they'll fall somewhere between 5 and 20%. And that means 5 and 20% of the plants you grow will probably herm or have a tendency to herm. But just like other statistics, 50% of flip and a quarter doesn't really work out 50%. A lot of people will never see herms in their grows. And then other people will all of a sudden have every plant in this room herm out. And it's very rarely speaking to the genetics more than it is the environment.
Yeah. And so you're saying basically, like, if you run a plant for 6, 7, 8 weeks and then flip the flower, you have a much better chance of not getting a herm.
Right. Especially if you've kind of taken the time to harden that plant a little bit. That's the beauty of anyone that grows outdoors will tell you, like I never have to really worry about herms. It's not a thing. I got to worry about males, but herms are just, the plants will harden to the environment over that length of time. And so those little minor changes that come up don't stress the plant out. And when one plant over here in the corner gets, bit on bugs, it doesn't throw out massive amount of hormones that the other plant can hear and sense, causing them all to stress out. It's just a much better thing. So hardening your plant over time and letting it reach sexual maturity and veg before you flower it is really important. Some people grow in tents and they don't really have that option. And a lot of them will never see herms. They just won't, because most of the stuff that's being bred is heavily commercialized and have been worked for years and years and years, not just by that breeder, but all the parent strains, the root strains underneath it have been heavily commercialized. Right.
Yeah.
Romulan that I work with is closer to landrace. I mean, it's all coming from landrace strains. So it's the root genetics. And anytime you're working with something that's closer to the root genetics, if you go past, pre-White Widow and stuff like that, mid 90s, anything back further than that is going to be, it's got more dominant and subdominant genetics in there that can be precursors to stresses. So that plant might herm really easily because of this one particular stress, but it doesn't mean that the genetic, whether it's Blue Dream or Northern Lights, whatever it is we're talking about, the seeds, doesn't mean that they're all going to herm, they're all bad. It's that one seed you grew, or all of them have a high sensitivity to drought or fan pressure or pest pressure or light pressure. And when you grow a plant out longer and you harden it to those things, you kind of let it experience those things as it's growing up. By the time you go around to flower it, if you have a little something come up in the grow room, something kind of changes, one of the fans die, or it turns on full blast and it's just beating the plant up, it's already kind of hardened to some of those, and it won't stress out and throw out herms or intersex traits. It's not a rule.
Given it that time to kind of mature before you flip it to the adult stage, basically.
Exactly.
Like, instead of, turning 20 after 15, you're going all the way to 19 and then turning 20.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good way to think of it.
That's cool. That was a great way to explain that too, because I've heard people talk about herms and why it happens and stuff like that, but the way that you just explained that was like beautiful. Everybody here can understand that.
I went through what everyone else knows in the frustration of that, because you just kind of spin in circles, and it's, there's all these different breeders that their stuff herms, and people will go grow this guy's stuff, and it none of that really matters. That's kind of the secret of cannabis and cannabis seeds, is it doesn't really matter where you're getting them from. If you grow it really well, it's going to come out satisfying to you, the grower, in almost every case. For someone that's been growing for a long time or has a really high level of critique like I do, I'm really picky about plants and what I like. I might grow stuff and be like, I'm not happy with that. But I've never grown anything since I learned how herms and intersex traits actually work and what's going on behind it. I've never once gotten mad at the genetics. I've always gotten mad at myself. I've always been like, what didn't I do right? I fucked that up.
I had this conversation the other day with somebody. I won some seeds. I'm not going to say who the breeder was because it doesn't really matter. But he said, if you have any problems, just let me know and I'll get you some new ones. And I said, well, what kind of problems would I have? And he said, well, these ones, this breeder has been known to have this problem. And I said, I'll tell you right now. I said, if I have a herm that comes out of it, I said, I've never, ever blamed the breeder for that. 110%. Whether I knew why it happened, I always blame myself for that, because not knowing what you just told us, even I still blamed myself for it because I knew something happened. I did something wrong.
Right. So. Yeah, and people will go from that point to some friend or someone will say, well, hey, it's not your fault. It's actually the breeder. That breeder, all his stuff herms. And it's as a breeder, nobody's really ever done that. There's been, I think, one early cookie strain release, not not the strain cookies, but the company put out seeds. And one of their first releases, it was a really heavy amount of people that complained that they had herms. And a lot of them were professional growers, really great growers. I've only seen that. And people have been breeding seeds for almost 40 plus years now, and on a really big commercial level selling them. But what we've had is a lot of people have complained, and a lot of people have shown pictures and all those things. But the reality is we have most of our popular cuts, a lot of our things like that come from herms and accidents.
Right.
We have stuff out there like cherry pie. That's the cut. Everyone gets it and they love it and they grow it. And it's known to herm on day 23. Everyone knows this. And unless you grow it, the right way, it's probably going to herm on you. That tells a better story than so-and-so's seeds herm all the time. Because when you start to understand that, cannabis herms, that's what it does. That's what it does to survive. And then you can kind of take that knowledge a little further and understand a little more about what can cause it to do that, instead of just jumping around from breeder to breeder trying to, not find herms. The people who have grown a long time learn that eventually. They learn it's, on some cases, it might be the genetics are a little funky or they just don't work in your environment. But most of the time,
that could be it too, right? Like somebody might be in Arizona where it's super dry all the time compared to somebody that's in Ontario, Canada, where it's wet outside and it's super humid and it's hard to control that inside. You know what I mean? Like going from one environment to the next, it could be totally environmental. It might not even be your fault per se, but
and that's a good way to think about it, because it's usually not, even though it's like I'm saying, I'm not trying to make everyone think it's the grower's fault. It's not. It's just something that happens, and once you kind of understand everything, me personally as a grower, I still grow a lot of stuff from other breeders from seed, and I hunt through things, and I get herms every now and then, and 99% of the time I'm looking at the plant going, what did I do? And I'm trying to figure out, did I not give it quite enough water? Did I let it dry back too much? What is it that did I not flush it? What should have I done different to not have this happen? And every time that I've had a cut of a plant that hermed and I went back and grew the cut later, I always kind of had in the back of my head to, maybe don't do this and don't do that, because who knows? I didn't have a problem with herms after that. So I've kind of been able to reaffirm that to myself over and over again with other people's genetics. That something might herm from seed, but the cut, it didn't have any problems.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of why keeping a log is important, because then the next time you go to grow, you can go back through your log and go, okay, what did I do? And you might even see it in your notes before you ever even get to that point again. You might see it and go, I'm going to try to not do that this time and do this instead. And, you might have luck, you might not. Then you move down the list and hopefully you figure it out. But that's great
I see Dank Nugs' question on there, and I kind of touched that a little bit. Dank Nugs is asking if seeds grown from hermed plants tend to herm more. I don't really know personally, but I know the scientific peer-reviewed stuff that's out there, the paperwork that's done, says no. It says it should still fall within 5 to 20% herm rates. So, I mean, take that what you will. I feel like there's seeds, and then it just kind of went from there. The next thing they asked for was cross. Probably got to be a little bit of influence, but I haven't gone down that road myself to really, look into it for sure. I know a lot of people would say, anecdotally at least, that there's something to that. But as far as like scientific research goes, they're saying we don't see a correlation if things are made from herm plants or from herm pollen. There isn't a sudden influx in herms in the progeny or the offspring. It stays the exact same. It won't go from
that 5 to 20% to these are 85% guaranteed to herm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, even breeders, a lot of us assume that. We have all assumed this whole time that's
I think
probably
all of
something to
us
be
have.
really concerned about. I'm paranoid about it constantly. Whenever I'm making seeds, I'm checking almost every day, every plant, every node, every branch to make sure, even though I know these things won't harm, I just got to make sure, because I don't want to have a batch of seeds go out with like, 15 or 25 herm seeds floating around in there that people are going to find and they're just jacked up. That would suck. So I'm paranoid about it, but everything I've read tells me I really don't need to be. It's kind of the same thing, but I like being paranoid because I know the cross I've made isn't somehow contaminated, because even if it's fine and it's not going to herm, it's still not the cross I made. Something else hermed over here, a totally different plant, and made some other seeds that isn't what I'm selling. So I'm glad I'm protecting my customers and myself from that, because I get all twisted up when things go wrong. And having, if I dropped a whole strain where people were like, look at here, what the fuck is this? And I'd be like, oh, I clearly did something wrong.
Yeah, I guess if like you have one person or two people that get it, compared to like if you put a drop out and all of a sudden like 80% of the people that bought them are getting herms, you're probably going like, oh fuck. Like,
I'm sure I haven't had that happen, but I'm sure there are breeders out there that'll tell you stories like, I ran it, it seemed great, I put it out, and suddenly I had like, half the people or like 20 or 30 people all come at me and be like, why am I getting herms? I'm sure there are people who have had stuff like that happen, because it's, we're kind of playing God here. We're playing with genetics, and depending on what plant pollinated, what those seeds end up coming out like, could be you get this suddenly much higher than normal intersex trait in the progeny. And that's where, as breeders, all of us should be testing things first and having other people grow them out first before we sell them, so that we protect people from being the guinea pigs for that.
I've also heard too, whether it's true or not, because I don't know, maybe but as soon as you feminize a seed, does that cause it to have a higher percentage as well, or no?
No. Now, again, and that's what the paperwork is saying, peer-reviewed studies are saying. That's also, though, what now, anecdotally speaking, at least the industry, everyone's saying, no, feminized seeds are great now. If you would have asked everyone in like 2005 or 8, a lot of people were hating on fem seeds. A lot of people had issues with herms, and there was much more problems. Nowadays, it seems to be exactly the same. And as far as what I see, I feel like it's like exactly the same as regular seeds, like feminized seeds and regular seeds, as far as any issues with herms or runts or mutations or things like that, which a lot of runts and mutations happen in the seedling stage, and it's, again, environment. It's not always genetics. But when you see some of that, it's the same across the board, and that's going through other breeders' seeds. I'm not just talking about my stuff. There's no difference in feminized seeds as far as them being more hermit prone or anything like that. I think they're exactly the same.
I've always heard, as soon as you start doing the genetically modified, you're taking back crossing it and turning it into female pollen and blah blah blah. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about, because I really don't. But I've always been told, whether it's bro science or what, but I've never ever had the documentation
easy
to say yes, it's 100% true or it's 0% false. I've never known. I've just kind of going off of what I've been told. So good to know.
Cannabis is kind of like in the nature world, like the frog. You've heard the story of how a frog can flip from female to male whenever it needs to breed. Not every frog, but some frogs can. So cannabis can do that too. When you make feminized seeds and you spray a plant with all those chemicals and the gene modification, it's real easy for people to kind of take it that way. On the scientific level, what you're doing is you're spraying a particular compound that blocks a hormone from the plant. And when it blocks that hormone, the plant won't turn into a female, which it may have been born as or was born as. It will go, like XY, it will drop one of those and it will grow up as a male. So you're not actually altering the genetics. That the cannabis, every single plant can flip like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's actually not modifying the genetic code, the DNA that gets passed on to the seeds. It doesn't modify it at that point. That's actually completely disconnected on the genetic level. So there's zero chance of gene modification from reversing one plant in the pollen. There's a much higher chance of modifying the DNA of a plant in the seedling stage by doing things like overwatering or treating a seedling wrong. You can literally mutate the genetics of a new seedling by having it in a poor environment when it's new. So there's a higher chance of that than having anything happen during the breeding process of like actually mutating the genetics. I would think people using like PGRs and stuff, you might be able to have some issues there, but I've never fucked with PGRs, plant growth regulators. So I really couldn't say, but that'd be my guess. If you were doing something like that, you could probably start altering some gene code.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, the hour went by super quick.
It did.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already the hour, but do you want to kind of give everybody where they can find you, social medias, Facebooks, YouTubes, all of them?
Yeah, so the website's www.romulangenetics.com. The bottom of every page, there's little icons you can click on, like the Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and it should take you straight to our accounts. But on Instagram, it's Romulan Genetics with the number 2 at the end. And on Twitter, it's Irish Jake, but spelled with an L at the beginning. So instead of Irish Jake, it's L-Rish Jake. And that'll take you to Romulan Genetics. That's just the account name that it's under. And yeah, those are the main places you can find us.
Cool. Yeah, I just posted the J-Rats did too. I was gonna say I just posted your website in there, but one of the moderators just did it like a second before me. So perfect.
There we go.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, because I learned a lot tonight, definitely. So
I'm still processing things.
And I'm hoping everybody in the chat learned something
just
today
like,
too, because
yeah,
I think you cleared up a lot of misconceptions, really. Like and
I agree.
easy things, like things that we've all kind of agreed on over the years too. I think you kind of helped clear some of that up, bro science or whatever you want to call it.
If anyone, I'll throw out there really quick. If you guys or anyone else wants links to some of this information, the peer-reviewed stuff I talked about, you can email us. My sales manager's got it all saved, so she can send it to you really quick. And they're like websites. It's not just we're just sending you a photo or something, so you guys can go read it for yourself. But there's some really good information that I've got, multiple different sites on intersex traits and scientific reviews and all this stuff. So if anyone wants to read that for themselves and they don't just want to hear me and go, oh, he's not totally full of shit, I'll just believe him, we'll send it to you. You can go check it out for yourself.
Is there any way that you could send that over, and then maybe I can put it in the description of this video, and then that way people have access to that?
You get a couple of the links, because I know 2 right off the top of my head of what I talked about. So we'll just at least put those sources. You know how you're supposed to, like, at the end of the book, have your sources there at the bottom of the page? That's what we're doing.
Exactly. Well, thank you very, very much for coming on. It was a pleasure to meet you, and
yes,
I hope we can get you back on in the future, because I know there's more. I know you got more.
I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back. Thank you both for having me, and thank you everyone that tuned in and watched and listened to me run my mouth for an hour. It's nice.
Absolutely. And if you ever want to come on a Friday night, pop on and show your grow. We do the Friday night show. Everybody's welcome, and the link is in the chat, and you can click it and just come hang out in the back until we bring you on. So,
sounds good, man. Sounds good.
All right.
Well, it's great meeting
you so much.
Yeah, you too, man. You have a good night.
Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Later, man.
Night. That was such a great episode. Interview, whatever.
I 100%
my brain is
have
still.
To go back.
I learned so much,
have to go back
and it makes sense.
That one again.
Yeah. So that is awesome. So next week, who do we have next week? Pretty sure I know who we have, but I don't want to say it just in case.
Next week we actually are doing a premiere on Wednesday.
We are. So next week we have our premiere with Bud Trainer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
we got it wasn't all a Bud Trainer though. So we've had Curtis a couple times. We've met Curtis in person, and this time we actually got H to come. So the reason we're doing it as a premiere is because H is very difficult to get at night.
yes.
He's an
Yes.
early to bed,
It
early
was
to
so
rise
much
kind of
fun
a guy.
too.
So next Wednesday we're doing the premiere with H, and we'll be in chat, hanging out, doing our thing. And yeah, Friday is Friday. Come show your grow. Come hang out. Come talk plants. Let's see your plants. And hopefully soon I'm gonna have some plants to show you. Yes, yes. It's been a long week. You good?
I don't know. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you on Friday. Once again, thank you to Jake for coming on, and yeah, looking forward to next week and to see your gardens.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Peace
Good
out.
night.